I'm not high on Kentucky.
I'd agree with
I,
that.
I'm just not high on Kentucky. I don't think. I think they'll win some games. I just don't. I'm not as high as for what people believe their perception was and the expectations was of this team coming off of last year, first round, all this pressure. I just don't see it with this team. I just think their parts, in my opinion, they don't fit as well as they've done in the past. I think Oscar Sheetway, obviously player of the year, a year ago, he'll put up the same numbers again. I just don't think the parts around them, they just don't fit. And they're not a great shooting team. It's like they got a Mitch and Max parts for situations. And that's a dangerous thing when you say, oh, I got to play this lineup because I want shooting. All right, they're not the shooting. I need defense now. So now I got to go back with this group of guys. And then you just kind of rotating guys just to say, all right, sooner or later, somebody's going to make shots, outside shots. I don't know who that is. I love Wallace. I think he's a talented freshman. He's a go-getter, but he's a freshman. And when you got a lot of non-shooters and a lot of non-shot makers around you, that just shrinks the floor, puts a tremendous amount of pressure on him. I'm just not sold on Kentucky right now. And I haven't seen anything since to make me change my opinion. I would love to come in and be like, hey, I was wrong about them. They figured it out. And I hope maybe that day will come. But for me, it's not here yet.
Is there any? I feel like there's a little bit of the same UNC urgency of like they need this a little more because what their best win right now is Michigan in London. That's not a home run win. We don't know for sure if Michigan's a tournament team. What's that?
It was a battle too. It wasn't an easy win by any means. And Llewellyn got hurt in that game for Michigan.
Yeah, so
he tore his ACL, right?
Didn't roll over. Like before the Maryland game, UCLA was kind of in the same boat. They lost both games in Vegas. They had a couple of early Pac-12 wins, but they weren't really big time, top of the resume type stuff. Then they got one. I mean, nearly played a perfect game. They had 4 turnovers that entire game, despite Tiger Campbell barely playing in the first half. I don't know if they can play that well again, but they probably don't need to play that well to beat Kentucky right now because they're still, like RC said, their lineups are so, like, if you play Reeves and Frederick together, okay, you have shooting, but you totally lose wing defense. And Oscar might not be fully 100% from that preseason knee operation. There are a lot of questions with them. I kind of think Kentucky back against the wall against fat and happy UCLA. Mick Cronin teams are never fat and happy. That's probably not fair to say. But I think Kentucky needs this one a little bit more, the same way we said about Carolina.
I agree. I just don't like, it's like Toppin and Collins. I mean, there's not a lot of shooting around Oscar Tshiebwe that concerns me. Yeah. There's just not a lot. And Severe Willard is a blur. He's a good player. If you're going to have those 2 guys on the floor, then you got to have those other 3 spots got to be shooting just to space it to be effective. And it's like a coin flip. I mean, Toppin's a good player now, but he's not a face-up stretch the floor. He's not a stretch forward. That's not what he does. He can make a shot, but I would have no problem going into a game saying, all right, let me see if you make it 2 or 3, 4 before I come out there. Collins the same. I mean, what does it look like? I mean, what is that supposed to look like? So now you're just dropping in the paint saying, all right, let him shoot a couple of shots, and if he makes it, then we'll go out there. You see teams playing. When we watched that Michigan State game, Megan, we were there. Mm-hmm. We were out there, and they were like, Tom Izzo was telling his guards on Severe Willard, like, get in the paint, just back up. Literally just stand in the paint. Yeah. And so I don't think other teams are necessarily, going to do that. But it's just not a lot of room in the paint for those guys. There's just not a lot of perimeter shooting. And there'll be a game or two where they make a bunch of threes. And, they could be like, shut up, Randolph. You don't know what you're talking about. But I'm talking about consistency, night in and night out. I just don't see it with this team. I just don't. Not yet.
Do you feel like, I know I don't want to, like, Wheeler is a good player, but is their best version Kason Wallace on the ball at 1 and playing more bigger on the wing and having Wheeler off the floor? It's probably unfair to Wheeler, but
yeah, I mean, okay, if you do that, you got Wallace, you got maybe Reeves, right?
Yeah,
and Wallace can guard; he gets after. But what else? What other lineup? To me, it just seems like they're trying to figure out what's my best 5 right now. What's the most productive group? And I don't think they let me say that. I don't think they figured that out yet. I don't know. I don't know if Kentucky has found out what's my best 5 that defends and scores enough at a rate we need to do to be successful. I don't know if they got that lineup out there yet, or the players and the parts have been as consistent. Because Frederick can shoot it, but if he ain't making shots, who is he guarding?
Yeah, I'd say something similar about Gonzaga. Like, I think those are two teams that, like, we don't know our best five yet, and so they're just not the best versions of themselves yet. Maybe they'll find it, but I kind of doubt it'll happen immediately.